So welcome everyone to Ask the Pros, a discussion-driven webinar about client reporting and marketing data challenges. I am your host, Jake Sanders, Content Marketing Manager here at NinjaCat. Pleased to be joined by two Chris's and a Paul to talk shop and get advice about client reporting and all this business. But before we get started, let me introduce the experts. Chris Klagora is responsible for the Marketron SaaS and digital client success teams. Prior to joining Marketron, Chris served as Vice President of Client Success for Gannett USA Today's national brands and executive accounts team. Next is Chris Coomer, who we'll be referring to as Coomer because there are two Chris's in the room. Chris Coomer heads up analytics at NPXL, a full-service digital marketing agency. Chris's expertise is focused on master data management, data strategy, and business intelligence. Prior to NPXL, he served as the global metrics leader for the Nielsen Company, a little mom and pop shop. Rounding up is Paul Darival, the co-founder and CEO of NinjaCat. Paul is passionate software veteran with 20 plus years of experience building and scaling startups from the ground up. Paul's seen the data and reporting challenges faced by marketers firsthand. And so we want this to be conversational. We don't want to talk at you. We'd like to talk with you. And so I'll ask one intro question of each panelist to allow the viewers a chance to hear their voices and see their faces, and so you can understand which Chris is which Chris. And so I'll start with Chris Klagora. I want you to say hi to the crowd, Chris, and then tell everybody what your favorite breakfast cereal is.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Honestly, breakfast cereal. I'm on the fence between Frosted Flakes and Special K Red Berries.
Wow.
We are kindred spirits.
Wow. Whoa. Let's not have too much overlap here. So Chris, you'll get that face and you'll know it's the Special K Berry guy. Coomer, say hi to everyone and tell everybody what your favorite breakfast cereal is.
Hello, everybody. I would say my favorite breakfast cereal would be Lucky Charms.
What? Yeah.
Classic.
Oh, they're magically delicious. That just makes sense. And now we know who's having fun and who's having business for breakfast. You know what I mean? And Paul, say hi to everybody. And what's your go-to for breakfast cereal?
Hey, everybody. I'm with Chris, but also at the same time, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Absolute.
Yeah.
I noticed that nobody said Captain Crunch. We've all had our horror stories with that one.
We've lived to tell the tale of what happened. I completely agree. Thank you guys for joining us, and thank everybody for joining us today. We're going to have fun, and we're going to try and get to all of the topics. If you have questions, remember to just put them in that chat. But we kind of want you to help us guide where we're headed in this conversation. So we have four broad themes that we want to cover today: client engagement, proving value of services, reporting team structure, and report automation and scale. So we want to ask you where you'd like to go. We're going to open up the poll, send it out there, and you should see it pop up soon. You can choose one of those, and to maybe there's a certain topic that's really burning a hole in your pocket. So just drop it in there, and then you can tell us where we're going to be headed. And if, people are getting in the chat. They're getting in. Oh, the poll is just filling up. So this is an idea to keep things engaging. Any of these topics, anything that you have, please put it in the chat. Don't hold back. We're here to just be peppered with your questions. And I don't know. I'm thinking it's a tie. I don't know what I was going to do in the middle of a tie. Seems like, should we end the poll? I'm going to end it. All right. So it was a tie in between client engagement and proving value of services. Very important topics. So you know what? Let's just jump right into client engagement. A theme here, keeping people engaged with these reports. Our dashboard's dead. This top one was, how can I share only the relevant insight with the busy client who will not wade through the data? So this is a great question. We received before we even started. So Chris Coomer, do you want to start with this one? This first, how can I share only the relevant insight with the busy client who will not wade through the data? You talk about it.
Yeah, I think it really involves like interacting with the client and finding out what it is that they're interested in getting out of this. So I think too often people create these dashboards and get things set up and they don't go to the source of the information. They don't say, what are you looking to get out of this? And then the secondary piece of it is sometimes just making it too complicated. Like analysts like myself, Chris, Paul, I mean, it's very easy for us to get very excited about data and put a ton of things in there that can probably be complicated and convoluted and makes perfect sense to us, but maybe somebody who doesn't understand the industry as well is a little bit confused. So really going to the client, making sure you know exactly what they want out of it, and then making it as simple and easy as possible to deliver to them.
And Chris Klagora, I mean, you've had many back and forths with clients, dashboards. What are your thoughts here?
Well, kind of following up on what Kumar said, every client has different metrics that matter, and understanding the metrics that matter are going to be the key in actually making sure that you're delivering the insights that make the most sense for them. Are dashboards dead? I think that was the question that you asked me, Jacob. Is that true?
I'm in the morgue.
All
I'm
right.
wondering what's going on.
So, here's the thing. I think that there are different applications that require different, data points. And I think when we actually look at client reporting, dashboards may not be dead, but they may very well be on life support. I guess kind of like chivalry anymore. Anyway. Look, I think when you're running a business, BI tools, being able to actually, as a sales manager, know what you've got kind of lined up for each one of your salespeople, know where they are in the overall flow. Dashboards make complete sense for business intelligence. But when you start actually looking at an end client, number one, what is the actual engagement? I think businesses tend to go in the direction of dashboards because they're highly scalable and very inexpensive to set up. The question is, does the customer actually log into them? And then once they're in there, does the data actually make sense to them? And I think that point in time reporting is far more kind of specific around the client objective, because everybody has a boss. I've always kind of thought everybody has a boss. So the person that I'm talking to, I want to deliver them the information that they're looking for, but they're going to roll that up. And I don't want whoever they roll that up to have big, huge question marks. So I'm more of a point in time reporting guy.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Paul, do you want to jump in here? Yeah, Paul.
I'd love to. I'm going to sum up both of my thoughts on the top two. So, we at NinjaCat have been doing this since 2014, right? For some of the largest media companies and agencies. And, for those two parts, what we found is there is a recipe, for great client reporting, right? And what is defined as great is what's the measure of success? It's retention and expansion, right? So what we found is dashboards, as Chris said, are on life support. It is kind of like the cool technology. It seems like the people that work at the agencies, they love dashboards. That's why they want to work in an agency. But the reality is, if you're dealing with, your media company or an agency, you're dealing with some local businesses, they hired an agency because they don't understand this stuff. So if they go into a dashboard and they're presented with meters and gauges, we call it data vomit. They have no idea what the heck they're looking at. And even Google and we as NinjaCat sell dashboards. And I'm saying less than 10% of clients ever use dashboards, right? So we have the data. Google even did a study on it saying, similar stats around 10% of clients on average ever log into these things. So it's like, well, if dashboards, are they dead? No, I think they serve their own life support and they serve certain purposes for certain people. They offer a sense of comfort and transparency that like I gave this, media company or agency my dollars and I can know what they spent it on yesterday. I probably won't log in to check, but just knowing I can gives me comfort and transparency. So it's like a check mark. But, the real recipe is know your audience, going to, what Chris was saying earlier, Chris, know their appetite for data and deliver on a silver platter, right? In a push methodology, not a pull methodology, a push methodology, a presentation, a PowerPoint or a PDF, a nice data story, not data vomit, a data story that says, here's what we did. Here's the impact it had on your business. Here's why you should not only continue doing business with us, but why you should do more. Look at all these high performing campaigns that are limited by budget. So we've been doing this for a long time. So they're not dead. We just say like, you might win them with dashboards, but retain them and expand them with killer customized data stories.
So I want to, I
Delivered.
love that.
Delivered in the right medium,
Right,
which is
right,
a
right.
present.
Something Clegora said was that someone may roll up a report and kind of disappear some calculations or something like that. Let that last part about best practices for standardizing reports across like clients across scale. Do you want to speak really quickly to that, or I mean, we kind of touch on that later, but I thought that was interesting to say, like, the boss is going to roll up my report and disappear some of the insights. Clegora, do you want to open that up more, or like, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah. To Paul's earlier comment about retention and growth, telling stories with data is really where the rubber meets the road, in my opinion. And I think when you can do it in a very meaningful way when it's organized and laid out in a fashion that actually is storytelling. And when you roll up a report, you take, you may understand it completely. If you just send it up the chain, whoever receives that needs to be able to actually be able to understand what that storytelling looks like. And with point in time reporting, you get the ability to do that. To Paul's comment, it's not just vomit on a page. It literally is just, here is the top level metrics. This is what it was designed to do. Here's where we start peeling the onion back. Here's what it was designed to do. And you can story tell in a PowerPoint format that you could just roll right up, and it doesn't take, an interpreter to make sense out of it.
Oh my God. Okay.
Love it. I like to say there, a good report has like, I brought this up once before and people didn't know what I was talking about. Do you know the Italian rainbow cookies? Like the 3-layer Italian
They're
cookie?
almond flavor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bomb.
Okay. Do both Chris's, do you know what I'm talking about? Or is this like a Northeast thing? Shocking. I thought these.
Yeah,
I thought
green,
you were worldwide.
yellow, pink. Yeah, I know
Yes,
what you're talking about.
3-layer cookie, right? I think a great report is like the Italian 3-layer cookies, right? It has like your executive layer, your strategic, and then your more tactical layer, right? And your executive layer is like, nail that, because if this is going to the CMO who doesn't care about the tactical weeds, it's like, so what? What's my ROAS or whatever it might be? And then, feed a little bit more strategic layers, what types of campaigns you're running. Then you can get into the tactical of like, these are the actual things we did. Look at these, keyword performance or whatever it might be as well.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, so let's keep rolling. I think we're talking about this idea of how reporting can be used to prove not only what's happening, but also the value of what's happening, that retention, that expansion, those things, the ROASs, whatever acronym, throw it in there. So let's start with Coomer because it's his time. We can just go right here. What's the connection between client reporting and overall success of your business? I mean, these reports are here. Y'all are saying nobody looks at the dashboards. Is this the best way to prove value? What do you think, Coomer?
When I'm looking at client reporting and I'm looking at how that ties back to the overall success of the business, I think it really comes down to education. One of the things that we do at NPXL is we spend a lot of time educating people outside of analytics, our account management team, our sales team, our paid media team, things like that. We want to work with them and make sure that they understand the connection to the client value, or client reporting and the overall success. But at the same time, we're looking at that like aggregate view. We're putting things together and we're checking it out and saying, okay, the education of all of this, the knowledge base of understanding all of this ultimately makes us more efficient. It ultimately makes us tell a story better. It ultimately helps, and people start trusting us more. And back to what Paul and Chris were saying earlier, that trust, that transparency, and that storytelling, that combination of things that come together prove the success of your business because people start coming to you more. So I started rambling, sorry.
Yeah, no, education equals efficiency. I think it's interesting that people get it confused, like, oh, we don't have time to educate, or that's like a content marketing thing or whatever, you toss me to the side. But it's very interesting that without that you can't have insight. But there's this idea that there's other benefits, maybe that better reporting could reduce costs. I mean, not only does it make you smarter, maybe it could actually reduce how much you spend on creating reports. I mean, Clegora, do you want to talk? Paul, anybody? You want to jump in here? Get in here.
I want to jump in too. The connection to reporting we talked about, what is the KPIs you're trying to move, it typically is retention and expansion. I think proof of value is one way to do that. But the other side to the connection to the success of the business is, all agencies, media companies realize the importance of client reporting because it really is a tangible thing, the proof of value. So they put lots of energy into it. And what we've heard in certain organizations, sometimes as much as 60% of time, right, putting together these presentations because of the significance of it. Well, I don't know if there's other topics we're going to talk about today, but making this process not only effective but automated is critical, because what else could that team be doing with this 60% of monotonous work, right? We like to say automate the monotonous so you could focus on the meaningful. What is the meaningful? Well, let's go optimize campaigns. Let's speak with our customers about what's going well. So I think there's lots of connections of the quality of the report and how you actually do reporting in efficient manner, and what you can do with that time, the more meaningful versus the monotonous, that has a major impact.
Ooh, I love that. Clegora, go.
Yeah, I'm going to fall back on my previous role right now. We had really large customers that some of the reports actually were built by most of the reports were built by hand before we actually started using NinjaCat, and effectively we had reports that took 14 man hours to actually build. And after the initial build of the template that we were using for that particular customer, the automation on that, the man hours was actually like 30 seconds. It was just the ability to actually open up your email and the report was sitting there already built for you. So there is a massive time savings with automation. There's I don't think anybody will question that. But I think there's another thing that actually probably needs to be brought up here, and that is the elegance of the report. I think that, there are so many companies that you can work with that will send you an Excel spreadsheet with just numbers sitting on them. And I think that there's a lot of value that goes into the elegance of the report from the standpoint of, if I'm a customer and I get an Excel file and it's like, here's what I've got going on. It's just like, okay, if this is how much effort you're putting into your reporting, how much effort are you actually putting into the campaign management of the whole thing? And so for me, when I start looking at this, I'm like, my teams are putting in a tremendous amount of energy to make sure that they're getting the best return on investment that they can out of it. And I want the reporting to reflect in an elegant, beautiful way exactly the feeling that, there's a feeling like when you get a report and you look at this and it's in your logo, it's got your logo and your color palette, and you're looking at it, you're just like, that looks amazing. This looks like an internal friggin' report. I love this. So I think that goes a long way when we start talking about not just reduction of cost, but a value proposition that really allows, and I'm sorry, I may be jumping into the upselling bullet point there.
That's all good. I love that. You jumped right into the future, but it makes so much sense because you pay for what you get, and what do you get? It's what you give. And wow, I mean, I'm just kind of like a kind of garden variety marketer, content guy. So this stuff is like, I have to work on making this look a certain way, feel a certain way, because that helps tell the story. Not just all the words, not just all the numbers, not just all the, it's up and to the right. Isn't that good enough? No. My God, I think it's brilliant. Anybody else want to have anything about upselling, about how client reporting, like the quality of it can kind of make you look good or bad? Does anybody else want to say anything?
I just saw that Chris called that out, the quality of the report. Like, really glad you called that out. I think that is so significant. And then, as far as upselling goes, I think in the reporting, what we've seen, there's two different, modes of doing reporting, and it probably depends on the value of the customers you're serving, right? Certain agencies, media companies, is like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and based on how much money you make off the client, probably there should be a correlation of how much effort you put into their reports, right? So for your high scale, low spend customers, you want to still make it feel like they're getting a high end report, but you're probably going to sacrifice a little bit of personalization at that end versus, your tier 1 premium customers, where Chris, was talking about probably their highest paying customers where they're going and spending that much time. But in your reporting, you have two modes, right? Like, you can set it and forget it and just have automated reports go out, or there's other workflows we've seen of, like, in NinjaCat and other platforms that just set up a don't forget it, and have your teams actually go in and add the insights, recommendations, and next actions in line into the report. And it's in those, recommendations and next actions that you're typing into the report where you're building right into the presentation. Again, see these high performing campaigns or this tactic you're not doing. That is, where it turns into some upselling. We've even seen some other people use NinjaCat in a creative way where, if you build out like a reporting template that has, all the different channels and tactics, and they're not running, let's say like, they're not running Instagram ads, in NinjaCat, that page can either like disappear from the report so it doesn't show zeros, or it can actually turn into an automated selling tool. That page could say, hey, you're not running Instagram ads. Here's the benchmarks of your peers that are, reach out to your rep. So you can turn, what I'm saying is not just NinjaCat, but other ways. You can think about reporting also as like a piece of sales collateral, not just a please see the value so you retain, but like this is an automated selling tool as well if done effectively.
Oh, wow. I love that. Okay, cool. So that was wonderful. We're getting towards a couple more of these themes about how client reporting is organized, how it's structured. You guys all have different stances on this. So this will be a good place to, we know that it's valuable. We know we can create ways that they'll engage, but how can we get our team together? So these are just some ideas here. These aren't the legit questions, but does anybody have just some starting thoughts on the best way to get that team structured? Do you need to hire a bunch of data scientists? I heard that you can do it with just 5,000 monkeys and just give them enough time, and then maybe you could crank out a good report. Is that true or not?
I would say from at least at NP Excel, we have a relatively small team. We really focus on scalability, but everything is centralized. So we have a very central point there where like my team leads both NP Excel, but also NP UK, NP Canada, NP Brazil, NP Australia. So like we work on all of these accounts, and we're able to do so because we have a centralized like system set up. We also have a subsidiary company, NP Digital, which works on the enterprise clients, who has a different organizational structure that we do. So I don't think it's one of those like what's right or what's wrong. I think it's what works for your company. I think you tend to find that people who have enterprise clients need different skill sets. You might need those data scientists. You might need MTA, MMM. You are going to have to tie all that into reporting, as Paul was talking about earlier. Like you would, for us, we have much smaller clients. NP Excel focuses a lot on small to medium businesses. So centralization is really key for us.
Love that. Paul, you want to say anything about that?
I want to hear what Chris says first, because I had the pleasure of working with Chris at his last role at Gannett Reach Local, and I think he's going to share a lot of different things about the different tiers and how to structure a team that works well. So I want to hear Chris first.
Sure. So I had a number of different like organizations that kind of rolled up into me, and I took different approaches as it related to what the team actually looked like from a reporting build perspective. On my executive accounts team, I made sure that every single one of my CSMs had the ability to build their own reporting, because the unfortunate part about, like, as we bring in new customers, and we talked about this early on, is we have different metrics that matter. And so when you're talking about large customers into the organization, they're all going to have very different metrics that matter. And I didn't want to end up sending it out into like a central reporting unit that actually built out the report and then sent it back. So what we ended up doing is we ended up partnering with another organization inside of Gannett. And what we did was we put the data on the page, and then we sent it off to basically a whole bunch of designers. They took the data on the page and they jazzed it up. I think we called it glow up was the term that we used. And actually, like, they went in, pulled the color palettes out of, like if they had like an overall, like, this is the way we want to be represented, they would go and grab everything, and they would glow it up and then send it back to the individual, the CSM who was responsible for it. Now I'll tell you, on my national side, the national side was very, very different. We actually had one individual who was actually responsible for building all of the dashboards for national. And Paul had talked about it a little bit earlier. We're talking about high scale, low complexity in the national department, where in the executive accounts department, it is low scale, high complexity. And so I think, just as Chris Kumar said a little bit earlier, it depends on your organization and what you're trying to accomplish. So I've been on both sides of this whole thing, but I will tell you, it is way more advantageous to give your people the keys to be successful rather than them having to rely on somebody else.
And just real quick before Paul jumps in here, because I want to hear his take on how we can handle data and manage it better. But it's interesting to think that a manager might grab this and say, I need to control this. You can't have autonomy about creating reports. I need to make sure that this is that or something. And it's interesting that that could create a bottleneck when you could actually just open it up and give some autonomy to some of the CSMs. I just really think that's kind of, it's a brilliant.
That creates chaos at scale though. So where Chris is talking about is like the EA accounts. These are the premium accounts where it really needs like one-to-one type of reporting.
Love that.
What happened is absolute chaos when you're a media company of thousands of low spend clients. You open up and you say, everyone go build your own reports.
No.
That turns into an unmanageable nightmare. You end up with hundreds or thousands of variations of reports and templates. And that section, that tier of customers needs to be, trust me, locked down to standardization, simplification for that tier, and the premium spend one-to-one. There is where you need to give them the ability to go do whatever is going to be required to impress this high spend customer.
Well, so speak more, Paul, about that. Like, I mean, you're in the front of the data warehouse. You're the data bouncer. I feel like I just got tweeted at. Tweet. I mean, I jumped in the data lake and I just ate. Like, what am I thinking, bro? Speak more about, like, how do you handle this, not only reporting team structure, but data team structure? Can you kind of like vibe on that?
Yeah, the question without a data scientist. So I think there is, what we've seen, the last couple of years here is most media companies, agencies don't really have data scientists, or they're not involved in this part of client reporting, right? So they could exist, but they're not a resource that's dedicated necessarily to helping with client reporting. So these teams, the client-facing teams, are really on their own for the most part to figure out how to get this done. So, at least at NinjaCat, so I'll plug here, what we designed our product for, we think like there's two personas. One that we call Database David is thinking data engineer, knows how to do left joins, right joins. And then there's Marketing Mary, which is an expert in the channel, knows Facebook, knows the metrics, and knows how to build, just wants to be able to go in and build a presentation and do some basic aggregation and stuff. So, right. For whatever reporting platform you choose, right? Think about that persona, and I'd say, ideally find one that is built for that persona based on your skill level, is critical. So, at least for clients of NinjaCat, we see you do not require a data scientist because we built it for a very specific persona, assuming data scientists don't exist. But then there's, of course, ninja mode. If the data scientist really wants to come in and do some advanced, data manipulation, they can peel back the onion and go crazy. But it's not the norm where that's a resource that's typically available to the teams that are doing client reporting.
So I love that. So do you want to speak quickly to this last one about churn? How to keep reporting consistent despite turnover. Sometimes the person who knows the legacy or the definitions of certain data sets just disappears and goes away. How do you kind of like, how do you get your team to cover those gaps? Because people do disappear and then they take all the knowledge with them. Does anybody want to speak on that? Because I know we've had, you've dealt with vendors that people disappear and things disappear. And so does anybody want to rap about that? Coomer's kind of saying,
oh yeah. Well, so at NPXL, we have about 600 clients, hundreds of employees. There's a lot of movement that happens. What I really like about NPXL and what I would recommend for anybody's agency, anything, is make sure that more than one person knows about your client, about your operations, about your media. Like I worked at a previous agency prior to this, and there was a lot of very siloed employment, and it was dangerous because we would lose somebody and then it would be everyone's running around trying to figure it all out. But in the process of figuring it all out, you're also burning those people out. I'm very excited about, where NPXL puts a lot of time and focus on making sure that everyone knows a little bit about it, including media reporting, analytics, things like that. We don't just learn within our departments, we learn cross-functionally as well. And then in addition to that, we work with people like NinjaCat, things like that, Paul. And there's also interaction with discussion. What's in the industry? What's happening? It's not enough to know about churn with your clients, churn with your business. It's also what's happening in the industries, because again, if you don't have multiple people checking into that, you have that siloed view of what's going on. So that's one of the reasons that we wanted to participate in this call today, is to show people like, we work with NinjaCat in some elements, but we have other platforms as well. NinjaCat does a really good job at what they do, but at the same time, like, they're not reaching out to us because we're a client of theirs. They're reaching out because they're like, hey, we want to know what's happening in the industry as a whole. We want to know your perspectives, and then vice versa from our side. Right. So keep people informed, not that siloed view for sure.
Wow. Love that. That is beautiful. So let's cruise on.
I think that's where centralization also comes in, right? If you build out reports, have a platform where you can think about, in this case, actually data first. Can you build up a set of visualization ready views of data, so that at least the data model work was at least done by those before, so that if all that stuff is just being done one off, everyone building individual data studio reports or all these other things, and it's like, do I have to figure out all these things, or can I put my focus of like what's going on in this area, which is the data sets or the data model first? And I also agree that just risk mitigation of like more than one person versus that heroic dependency, in security, they say when you're building web servers and stuff, they say 2 is 1 and 1 is none. That's how you got to think about things. And I think that's how you got to think about it, when you're building out something as critical of reporting and all the knowledge that goes into it. 2 people at a bare minimum always need to know what's going on. Chris?
Well said. Klagora.
Yeah. So I'm not going to plug a CRM here, but I always ran under, like, my team knew that if it wasn't in the CRM, it never happened. And we were very thoughtful about making sure that it was connected into the email, it was connected into, we had text messaging built off of it, and every interaction that happened with that customer was documented in the CRM, including every single report that we had ever sent out. In fact, actually, we were right on the verge of adding our telephone system and actually integrating that with the CRM so that you could actually go back and listen to the calls, because succession planning is so damn hard to do, because you never know who's going to leave, why they're going to leave, when they're going to leave. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we needed a simple, like, point of truth of, here's all of the conversations we've had with the customer. Here's the nature of the way that, you could go back and read all of the emails. You had all of the reporting, and it was very easy and made, just plug in NinjaCat here again. The simplification of transferring one report to another CSM is very simple to do. You just change the name on the ownership there, everything moves across. The report is exactly what the customer expects it to be, and you have your top track because it's all in the CRM, that you can go back and refer to. So account portability became very, very easy using that methodology.
And I like that this is of course a technical, ask the pros thing, but we're talking about not just platforms, but people and the way people are engaged in processes. And I think that's really brilliant that it's not just all about the tech stuff, but we're about to get a little technical. Speaking about automation and scale, because there are places that we need to go into the future that we can't rely on people with hands. We need robots. Are the robots going to take over? I don't know. I'm not necessarily scared. There's a lot of people who are doing grunt work that are waiting for the robots to take over. Let's start with Paul, because your scale, you've been speaking about scale and the complexities that happen thereof. How does a reporting function at scale across all of this? What's going on? It's high complexity or what?
Yeah. So what we've observed, NinjaCat specifically does primarily focus on larger scale agencies and media companies. Our sweet spot is those that have hundreds or thousands and thousands of customers. So we've really been dialed in on focusing on, the high scale use cases and the unique challenges that come around scalability, maintainability of deploying reports and our dashboards at that scale. And, one of the biggest challenges is, if you're a media company or an agency and you think about, you say thousands of clients, so I need thousands of reports. It's like, you could start breaking down that problem to say, we have clients of different categories. Some lead gen, let's think about like what is like a pretty versatile, high coverage lead gen data story that we can create, and then like an e-com data story that we create. But then from there, and as you go down, into the different nuances from client by client, it's like, well, damn, we have thousands of clients and there's all different permutations of like what channels and tactics are running. Some are Google, Bing, Facebook, some are Google CRL, right? And all these variations of like what channels and our tactics. And then you go even another level between the variances of channels and tactics by clients is like another level deeper, metric definitions, the definition of a conversion for one client versus a map view for another client, it's GA goal 1 versus GA goal 7. These are the things, the nuances that just kill people when they try to do reporting at scale is how do you cover all these different nuances in an elegant way. So the only thing I could speak to is how we do it in NinjaCat, because that's why we exist, and our success is because we focused on being the best at that problem, doing this stuff at high scale. So
Right.
NinjaCat, what we advise our clients to do is build a high coverage template, right? So for your lead gen, all the channels and tactics that a customer might run. And then we have different levels of intelligence of like, if there's a page, as I said earlier, like dedicated to Instagram and they're not running Instagram, it'll intelligently hide that or turn it into an advertisement. That's one layer of nuance, but now you go to that next layer. Well, that's easy, Paul, but what about, when you have different metric definitions per client? In most other products, if you're trying to cobble together the Frankenstack, the data studios, the 510s, all these other things, each one of these nuances is a decision point where you're like, damn, I have to go build a whole new dedicated dashboard or data studio report because that stupid metric definition there. In NinjaCat, one of the unique things we've done is taken a lot of these nuanced things like definition of metrics or filters and allow you to create agency level defaults for these things. So for example, you create an agency level default of a metric called conversions that is this agency level metric called map views that by default is Google Analytics goal completion 1, right? And that can be the default definition. That's actually the metric. Map views is what's in all of your templates that power your reports and dashboards. And then when you encounter one of these clients, an auto dealer that's part of the auto dealer group, that actually it's a different definition for map view. Instead of going and building a whole new dashboard or template in NinjaCat, you can actually go to the client settings for that specific rooftop, that dealer that has a different metric definition. And under the client settings, do an override. No, map view is actually goal 6 for this rooftop, therefore eliminating the need to build a whole new dedicated report or dashboard. So at NinjaCat, we obsess over this, unique architecture around scalability, maintainability, and try to make a lot of those things pull down to the client and override the client versus having to do that at the visualization layer.
So, in what we met a while back, we met with Chris Klagora, and you mentioned something, Chris, about the computation happening in the cloud or not on the widget or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's really brilliant. This is sort of that thing that might slow you down at this scale. Can you speak more towards that and just how kind of the scale works like that?
Sure.
Oh, wait, I think you're talking about 2 different versions of scale, which is interesting. I think there's scale of clients, right? And then scale of data. And, the thing that I was talking about was definitely the scale of clients challenge. And then there is also another challenge of like, well, scale of data that we're trying to bring into reports and dashboards as well, that I think you're tapping into.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So do you want that answer, Jacob?
I do. I love that because I thought it was really brilliant at how this thing is working at scale. Because yeah.
So I think there's, when you start doing joins, the ETL work where you're taking a whole bunch of different data sources and trying to get them to actually join together to provide a particular metric. There's multiple ways of doing it. One way of doing it is actually doing it in the widget. So it like live builds and adds the things together where you actually go in and you say, okay, I need this metric plus this metric from this data source and this metric from this data source. I need you to combine those all together and I need you to get a number. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is actually having it done in the cloud, which is effectively in the data warehouse where all of those joins are actually done there. And what ends up happening, and from a customer's perspective, you're not really going to know the difference, but from an actual build of the template, you're going to notice a massive difference because it is night and day difference as far as speed is concerned. So when we start talking about efficiencies in business and where we can actually save time, if you're having to wait 35 seconds for a metric to load in a particular widget because it's actually going out and calling on all those sources and bringing it back, versus just going to a dedicated source, which is, you know, the cloud or, you know, your data warehouse, wherever that happens to be, where all that join has already been done. It's instant, lightning fast, coming right back into your report. So you can actually save tremendous amounts of time by doing all the ETL work in the cloud before it gets to the widgets. You're just calling the data marker that you're looking for, and the joins have already been done.
Yes, sir. I gotta love that. Coomer, you at NPXL, you guys have tons of marketing data sources that are going in. How do you guys handle the proliferation? How do you handle this complexity over there?
So I'm gonna start by saying I'm a non-paid spokesperson. I'm just kidding. No,
Too late.
Too late. No. So we don't have NinjaCat at NPXL, and I wish we did, because I think Paul was kind of downplaying himself and being a little modest when they were saying scalability is really their competitive advantage. It really is. Like right now, we're working with another BI platform, and we have thousands of lines of Python code, 7,000 data streams, and we are struggling. I mean, it is complicated. The level of like dedication and complexity that we have to do to get scale to work is a challenge for us, and it eventually gets rather expensive. Now we're on the verge of kind of finishing that up, getting it done and things like that. But from the NinjaCat perspective, that's exactly what that platform is designed to do. And again, like one of the reasons that I wanted to be on this was to say, like, yeah, we don't have them, but this is a perfect use case. We have hundreds of clients across the globe, thousands and thousands of data sources. And what Paul was saying earlier, we need to keep it really, really locked down. Like prior to this, we had Data Studio, and, you know, people were going in and doing all sorts of things. We had no knowledge of any sort of manipulation of things. And then someone would come to us and be like, hey, why does this look like this? We're like,
Right.
We don't know, because we didn't do it. My team didn't touch it. Now we have it on lockdown. We have a lot better security of what we do. We have a really streamlined view of what our dashboards look like for our clients. But that is where NinjaCat's expertise would have come in and been really useful for us, is to say, like, hey, we have thousands and thousands of data streams, hundreds of clients all over the world, and we really need this scalable solution. And like, this was all decided prior to me coming on board to NPXL. So
Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad.
The wrong platform. And I'm an advocate for the platform that we operate in now. Like I tell people, like, it is a great platform for enterprise data. It was never really built for what we would see what NinjaCat would use it for, what we would have used NinjaCat for. So really, really love the platform, been in it, played in it, love the way it's set up. It's incredible, but it is highly, highly scalable. So, and I will shut up.
Well, I'm so grateful for that. And thank you for your reflections on problems that everybody's facing. I think that's one of the things that you guys have been very diplomatic in the way that you've given out advice. A lot of it is depends. A lot of it is, what is your metrics? A lot of it is, what would you like to see? I think you can tell that you guys are professionals and working at, you know, expert levels, because you didn't just try and cram something in. You're expressing yourselves. And I think every marketer, every agency out there is struggling with this, but it's cool to hear some people who have thoughts, tools, you know, and experience at fixing and, you know, getting to the heart of this. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you to the panelists and everyone in attendance and those who chimed in with questions. And thank you for adding the value and insights. This was beneficial because you were here. Be sure to follow Chris Klagora and Chris Coomer and Paul on social. NPXL, Marketron, and NinjaCat. And to hear more on digital marketing performance management and automated client reporting, or to learn more about NinjaCat, you can check out our podcast, What Gets Measured, subscribe to our newsletter, check us out on social. And if you're interested in a demo, please get in touch. And have a lovely day if we don't speak to you later. And thank you, Chris. Thank you, Paul. And then we can wave and say adieu.
That's you.
Thanks all. Have a great one.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.